watch it. Now I ain't talking my pockets, just know we ain't running out the way that we stock it. If I got it, you got it. If I call it, she slide and tell her to mop it. Yeah, I got that shit doing. Damn, she took that thing off and bring it around. Going at it till I'm on. Put that 90 in a hole, I'm beating it down. I'm back in that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's fine. We just let it rip. It's cold. I believe they call it the cold opening, like in Saturday Night Live.
I heard it.
You heard it? Did you hear?
Yeah.
Did you hear the tunage?
heard it.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
it's just me.
you. Yeah, you got lost in
Apparently,
the abyss.
my settings have been messed with. Between Two Wrenches podcast, back we're actually getting on what I would call a consistent schedule.
And I'm
these
proud
days.
of us.
Strange. I don't
2025, new year, new us.
Surrender to the schedule. Absolutely. We are freshly back from Orlando, Florida, which sounds great because everybody's like, "You guys went to Florida? That must have been awesome."
When it was 26 below zero here.
Yeah. So we can't really complain about the fact that it was only in the 40s.
Yeah.
In Orlando,
And it got dangerously close to freezing. They said, "Bring your animals inside." They made sure that they ran some special on the weather state or the weather portion of the news about what is space heater safety.
Yeah, things that you need to know.
Yeah,
things you need to know. And they also had the lizard warning. I have been traveled to Florida for the last 5 or 6 years. Lizard warnings are a real thing. It's what happens when the temperature gets below 40. The lizards and the iguanas in the trees, they don't die. They just kind of lock up.
Yeah.
And then lose their grip from the trees, and then they fall and can fall on you. Not in a dangerous way, but there definitely was on the news report lizard warning in effect for basically the
whole state.
Cut Florida in half and go north.
Well, Florida got 9 inches of snow too while we were down there.
Yeah, Pensacola Beach, beautiful pictures of the beautiful piers out there that were snow covered.
Oh yeah, it was wild, and to see like a whole bunch of snow around underneath all the palm trees, that was kind of crazy. Yeah. Took some pictures for the kiddos on that one.
And it was nice to get back to our old ways of driving until you really should have stopped 12 hours prior.
And then keep driving.
And then keep going. Yeah. 26 hours straight down.
Unload the car, then another 2 hours.
Yeah. Didn't sleep. We didn't go to sleep on Saturday when we got down there. So we left Friday morning.
Yep.
Arrived Saturday late morning, early afternoon. Unloaded the vehicle in Universal. Drove to Tampa. Went out for cocktail. Walked down and we saw Gasparilla Jr.
Right. Yeah, yep.
Which is like Gasparilla but much less fun. So if you don't know, Gasparilla,
for the children.
Gasparilla is which I've always wanted to attend. If you have listened to the podcast, I have a company that's based around piracy. So Gasparilla is like this big pirate festival that's just debauchery that happens in Tampa Bay end of January every year. We've always missed it because we're always traveling back. What I didn't know is there is the weekend before actual Gasparilla is Gasparilla for the kids. So it's kind of all the same things without all the things that I would actually enjoy about being a Gasparilla.
Yeah, so there's a lot of water bottles.
Yeah, there's a lot of, well, there was a lot of water bottles, but there was a lot of moms there walking around with their Stanley cups.
Yeah.
Like, I'm guessing that's not LaCroix. Almost having some Moscato.
That's right.
But it was cool. There was, dozens, more than that, probably 100 floats. Yeah. I mean, in elaborate, like fully built out pirate ships. And they were just going to start a parade, so we got a chance to see that. Then we started drinking.
Yeah, for sure.
Then we went out to dinner at this amazing Japanese
restaurant,
like, tapas kind of place, which was super cool.
That was really good.
And then we
ordered a bunch of food for the table, and
we had the best ice cream that has ever been.
Chill Bros.
Shout out to Chill Bros in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, could you maybe open a franchise here?
Yeah,
in my shop,
or maybe just like special delivery. Like, not that I don't want to share that kind of experience with others.
That's what I said in my shop.
It would only be nobody else is here.
Like, you get to serve the 10 people that work.
Some people want to open a speakeasy inside of their business. You're like, I have a little ice cream shop in the back, but you got to know the password. Yes. Rocky Road. It's Rocky Road. And then we great time down in Orlando. Chance to kind of hang out at Universal and intermingle in the automotive after parts world for a little bit. And then surprisingly 24 and a half hours straight back.
Yeah.
Time traveled.
It was, it rained from Rockford, Illinois, all the way to the Florida-Georgia line on the way down. Torrential. I couldn't see, and it was hazy and foggy. I think that's the same term. and I couldn't see anything. Super tinted windows, rain like crazy.
Luckily, we had Landman.
That's right.
Season 1 of Landman to distract
That's
us
good.
from all the distractions that were on the road.
Well, and then on the way home, the dry roads, and we had Lioness. And we got
Two
to watch
seasons
two
of
seasons of Lioness.
Which is amazing.
That got us through 18 hours of the trip. And that was a good show, too.
The excitement level when season 1 ended and we weren't aware that the season 2 was already out.
Yeah, that
And
was
it just
pretty-
started.
That was a.
It was. It probably brought us back to life because we.
Oh, are you kidding me?
We gotta keep going. But
I think that was also when we stopped for like late night fast food.
yeah,
Yeah, we made that decision. I didn't know if we were ever going to talk about that, but I just
Yeah.
brought it up.
we definitely went. So Phil and I have been on carnivore since January 1st, me since January 2nd, because I don't buy into that January 1st counts as a day. It's not real. That's when you have Bloody Marys and mimosas and you say tomorrow, sir.
That's
is
right.
when it starts. So we've been on carnivore. I think we did as well as one can be expected.
Yeah.
But there comes a tipping point where you get to the third or fourth day in and you're like, well, at this point of the day,
Right.
pizza's really good.
Yep.
And on the way back, when we hadn't really eaten much except for beef jerky,
Yeah, we did good.
lot
We
of
did
beef
all
jerky.
right,
We
but
did
we
all right.
definitely.
but then it was like there's a McDonald's inside of this place. RFK Jr. is pissed at us, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and we
It was delicious.
DQP'd it up
Yeah.
on the way back.
Oh my gosh, that double quarter pounder was delicious.
I feel like I had higher expectations from not having a double quarter pounder with cheese for years.
Yeah.
Like my memory of how that was going
Yeah.
that experience was going to be was a lot higher.
And it was
than
over faster than I wanted it to.
Yeah.
Also.
You're like, oh.
Same with the fries.
I
But I feel like if I ate that every day, I would feel like I was expecting to feel trashy. I felt kind of trashy, but
Well, I think there was a lot of things you can incorporate into that feeling of trashiness. Like,
Yeah.
let's not sleep for 2 days.
yeah, that's a good one.
Does throw off what day it is when you
The
reach.
circadian rhythm.
Is that the sun again? I feel like I just saw that 10 hours ago. But no, good trip, but good to be back and wrapping up here today as we record the last day of January.
That's right.
I think it's January 76th today.
Yeah.
We've made it through.
Yeah, I feel like 2025, like, can we just start it February 1st? Because I feel like January felt like a false start.
Man, you crossed the line too soon, sir.
Yeah.
Redo.
Well, everybody was sick.
Yeah.
There was like, the businesses seemed to, because I don't know, at least in my business, December it fell flat on its face. December almost didn't even count as a month. And then there's the Bermuda Triangle of business between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
And then people were sick after that. And then everybody's doing their, New Year, New Me for the businesses. And, that was what basically Orlando was for, several companies.
The Great Reset.
Yep. So
Yeah, I think it depends on business. I mean, we had a very lucrative December in retail. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the time to cash in.
I've
That's
heard
what,
that.
That's what makes January, which has been less than ideal,
yeah.
more easier to tolerate. But you got to plan for these things, and feel like there's a changes in the air. I feel like we're
Yeah.
having some forward momentum into people being able to get excited about getting out, especially in the off-road world where the schedule is starting to line up with,
Yeah.
Moab is on the horizon, obviously
Man.
other big events throughout the.
Did you do this on purpose? I mean, it's a pretty good segue. I mean, we could keep
Subtle.
ignoring this guy that's in here too.
I just wanted to see how long we could keep him here
I'm waiting patiently.
without talking.
He is being real
That's
patient.
very patient. Are you trying the square box breathing exercise? Like, okay.
I take deep breaths because I deserve them. That's what my niece says. She's 2.
It has a better perspective
Yeah.
on.
I'm gonna take a deep breath because I deserve it. Honey, I deserve it too.
Namaste.
Let's do it together.
All right. Derek's here. Elevated Jeeps joined us. He overtook the shop a couple days ago. He just came and
right.
invaded. He's like, I
live here now.
Yeah.
I own the place, yeah.
Welcome.
So
You're gonna have
Welcome,
it.
guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Also, see ya. All right. I'm gonna have the host chair.
So, Derek, thanks for coming up here.
Yeah, thanks.
Why don't you tell, I guess, people on the podcast a little bit about who you are and what Elevated Jeeps is all about?
Yeah, so just kind of a new venture here. I'm in maybe a year. Like, I've been building Jeeps for, 20 years, and it's like, I'm going to start recording what I do.
Yeah.
If people like it, cool. If not, that's cool too. Like, I'm going to keep doing it and, And so, yeah, it's been a cool journey. Like, I'm sitting here with you guys. Like, this is amazing, you know?
I don't think anybody's ever said that about sitting here.
Yeah,
This
no.
is great.
Hey, like,
Usually like, what have I,
yeah,
decision have I made that led me to this point?
for real, yeah. So, good conversations and just trying to grow in that space, you know?
So I mean, obviously Elevated Jeeps is then kind of a content mine, right? Where does it live? Is it across all socials? Are you really trying to like, really want to focus on this one? Or
I'm focusing on YouTube, mainly, just, you know, some videos like, here's something inspirational, or hey, here's how you change this part, and maybe some off-roading stuff, you know, and
Nice.
So try to get it with Instagram and say, hey guys, I'm doing this. Go check out this video.
yeah.
Yeah.
So all roads are trying to point over to YouTube.
Yeah.
Just trying
Yeah.
to make that clear.
And YouTube is its own, like there's nothing else like YouTube. And I think I heard this on a recent podcast, just with the way that the algorithm is set up. I mean, there's other options out there. Rumble is, another platform that's similar, but YouTube seems to have the kind of the cornerstone on everything. I mean, when TQ and I are trying to figure out, how to do something in Adobe or something along those lines.
Right.
And we can't like, you know what? I want this to do this. Like YouTube is just like the landing spot. Like you go to YouTube. I want to learn. You can learn how to play guitar, learn how to, change tie rods, like all these things. It just become this hub of.
That's good.
Yeah, you're welcome.
YouTube
Cars.
University.
Auto parts.
Auto parts. But no, it's. I'm glad that we have it. I'm glad that it's a thing, and I don't think that we're in a space where we run out of content. Like there's too much
Oh my
content. I
gosh,
don't think there's ever too much content.
And then if so, you just do it a different way, you know, and maybe somebody will like your delivery as opposed to somebody else. So
Right.
Yeah, people definitely gravitate towards delivery and personalities. I mean, the information is probably out there tenfold in what you're trying to find. But if you can find somebody that you're like, oh yeah, I'd have a beer with that guy, and he's going to tell me what to do.
Yeah, something that resonates with you in some way or another. But yeah, that's something that we're going to be exploring too for Max-Bilt. So maybe we can continue. Well, we will continue to
Collaboration.
collaborate. Stop.
collaborate.
And listen.
That was good, boys.
Also, this
Proud of us.
podcast available on YouTube as well.
Yes.
Shorts and full version.
Yes,
Shameless plug for not following us.
that's right. You should be. Man, I don't know what the follow up with the whisper into the mic is for me today, but I like it. I love it.
It's a reiteration. Remember, you got to tell them, and you got to tell them again. And
That's right.
Apparently, if you tell them in a very creepy way, where it feels like you're on their shoulder, they'll actually do it. So, like, when did Jeeps become like a part of your ethos? Like, I feel like it's.
Yeah. Like,
Did you grow up with
What's
in
your
your
origin
environment?
story?
Where did it all begin? Where did you go off the rails and decide that Jeep life is my life? Like, when did that happen?
So it was probably in the early 2000s. We had a friend that he's like, hey, come for a ride in this Jeep. No top, no doors. Okay, whatever. And I was hooked. Like, this is amazing.
that's all it takes.
Yeah, that's it. And so we got one, and we had ended up getting rid of it. We were pregnant with our first kid, and then I got another one. And
Do you still hold that against the first child? I'm just wondering.
no, that was. It had a 3-inch body lift and a 2-inch spacer lift. Yeah, I had
That one could go.
I had to have a do-over on that one.
Yeah, restart.
But then I'm like, all right, like I sold this one. Oh, I made a little bit of money. Like, bought another one, sold that. Oh, I made a little bit of money. And then so 92 Jeeps later, where I'm at now, like
That's crazy.
yeah, it's done well.
Yeah,
Like,
no kidding.
The community is great. Like it's got a cult following, you know.
Where do you find your Jeeps to flip?
So it used to be before Cash for Clunkers took everything, like Craigslist. Mainly that was it. I used to buy from Davies Jeeps.
Yep,
out
I
in
know
Ohio,
Davies Jeeps. Yeah.
and that's kind of dried up. So
Did you buy a lot of salvage?
now that's predominantly all I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you can. I say this a lot as a joke, but you can hit one with a shopping cart and they total it.
Yeah, right.
Like you fold over a fender and it's totaled. Well, I mean, a $200 fender and some paint and it's good as new. So yeah, so now I just buy right from the insurance auctions.
Yeah.
My LJ that I drove, like it was a repo. So yeah, and so I have a buddy that he's like, hey, Like, use my account, you buy stuff. He does the paperwork for me. He ships it, and it shows up at my door. Like,
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
amazing.
Streamlined process.
Yeah.
Also,
And
I need
so-
to go
That's
to the
clean
grocery store.
living.
I got to stop at the grocery store.
Get-
roll some
you-
roll some carts around.
So with that, then I can be picky and choosy. Like, I don't have to have something with a rusty frame that came out of the Midwest. Like,
Right.
I can get out of Florida, Texas, wherever, and it comes in. It's magnificent. I do a few things and send it off to be loved again.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I
a lot of
found
fun.
I've done it a couple of times. It was for Heather. I remember. I think it was 2017, maybe, or maybe it was 2016. I had bought a wrecked 2015 for it had 8,000 or 10,000 miles on it. It had been rolled over, motor blew up, so it didn't take long for him to total it. But I bought it for 14 grand. Called up Dan McKegg, who's like the Hemi swap master out of Dakota Customs, and he's like, "Oh, I have a stock motor that they just pulled out. It had 28 miles on it, and so I got a good deal on that. Slammed it in there. Found an anvil colored windshield frame and a soft top. And I think we had 20 grand into the thing, and I sold it 5 years later with 100,000 miles on it. Well, yeah, no, I think all that included the lift and the tires and everything. I sold it with a branded title, or salvage title for 20 or 31,000. It's wild. It's like, okay, part of me is like, I want to do more of that, but then I got distracted.
It's Jeep world is weird because I remember when I first kind of got into it, I had a JK and then lifted JK, but I was like, man, the TJs, there's just or CJ7s, like, man, I just want to like look into where that world exists, and I was like, are you shitting me? Like, starting, I mean, just something that's runs probably rust free. I think that was one of my criterias, but you're starting at 32 to 35.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's nothing special about this. And then you get into like super special. So the resale and with the ability to be able to modify, to change, to upgrade, like it seems like the longevity in these things, even, we just need a JK frame. Like around here, it's like, we just, need JK frame, take it off a JK and freshen it up and, put it on a Jeepster, whatever you're into. Like it's like Lincoln Logs and Legos. Like we're just going to interchange like everything here. Like we don't really need this part. We throw that out. I don't feel like there's any other vehicle on the market that's like that, which is why they retain their resale value so highly.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a bunch of stupid people like us out there.
Well, I see it going more like we got a buddy across town. I want to get him on the podcast too. Note that.
Write that down.
That's right.
He's going to say his name and then you can write it down. That was
Sheldon Divetter.
There we go.
Renegade Diesel. But he kind of does the same thing with, he's a Ford nut, but 250s, 350s, 550s. And they do the same kind of swap stuff, which is crazy. But I'd like to think that, we started it.
Trend
We're trendsetting.
Yeah, I predominantly do 97 to 06 TJs. Just, I mean, that's, I don't know what I've done for years. I've done a few JKs, but I mean, I've parts here and there, and it's all interchangeable.
Yeah.
So, they're great.
Yeah, they're fun rigs.
Yeah.
What's do you have like a favorite build out of the 92 that you've done? One that sticks out?
I'm really liking this current one that I'm working on now. It's a white repo. It's Moab-Bilt Highlines, Max-Bilt Trail Tails.
Oh,
Shameless.
But yeah, Mark's Design sliders. It's 2-inch rock crawler lift on 37s. Like it just works.
Yeah.
Drove it 7 hours here, and that was kind of sketchy, and we worked on that. So
That's right.
thank you for that.
You bet.
I think it's better. Actually,
I like that.
After 7 hours on the way
after
home
the
to
tow.
figure it out.
that's embarrassing, but yeah.
Well, no, that's not embarrassing at all.
Well,
It's only embarrassing if it's not really embarrassing.
Well,
but,
I mean, 92 Jeeps, you'd think I'd look at the toe, which
Right.
I did, but anyway, that's
Well,
long
we
story.
did, and then we were like, it's meh. Seems
But,
a little high.
So in 92, like I haven't kept them for very long. But you ask about favorite, the last one I had a blue LJ on 37s. That had a 3-inch lift. It had 300,000 miles, original 4.0, original automatic. Had issues, but I enjoyed driving that. But those, LJs,
LJs they're just the perfect.
Yeah.
They're the perfect wheelbase. They're
Yeah.
the perfect everything.
Yeah. So
I want an LJ.
you need one.
Here we go.
I need an LJ.
I can hook you up.
I was going to say, you'll find one for you.
great.
He's
Yeah.
got guys. He's
I got a
friends.
TJ
I got
out
people.
back. I got to fix up first. Needs frame repair.
Is that the
The
purple,
yellow,
blue? Oh,
the yellow one back there.
okay.
Bought
So
it for $1,000.
yeah, I got under there because my daughter's favorite color is yellow. She
Yeah.
had a yellow TJ, and she just had to sell it actually because she's going to start commuting back and forth to college. So she's
I
got,
don't understand.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't commute in a TJ?
Well, you can, but she got like a little Buick.
Lame.
Yeah, it gets like 30 miles.
What
to
do
the
you
gallon.
want? You want
what do
something more than
what do you
11
want?
miles a gallon?
Yeah,
Come on.
I thought this was miles per gallon.
Yeah, that's
There's
what it
that.
is.
There's that. But yeah, so I was over there looking at that, and I took a picture, and then I got down, and I took a picture of that. I'm like, oh, that control arm is no longer attached to the frame. Like,
Just left the chat. Bluetooth.
See a lot of that at SEMA
Oh, yeah.
on the Bluetooth.
Whoa. Bang. Sorry.
Careful.
You take it easy. I got a new watch band for my watch. Pretty excited about that.
is that a smart watch?
Yeah.
That's a
Also?
Garmin.
It's a Garmin Phoenix. I don't
Okay.
know. Phenix. I don't know how you would say that.
I like the fact that it's Phoenix.
Right.
It should be. We're gonna stick with it. It's
yeah.
not, it's Phoenix.
It's Phoenix.
But it's
What?
like how you spell things. There's
ways to
you pronounce them the same way, but they're spelled funny.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Our language is whack.
English.
We
But,
get to pick and choose.
but yeah, no, it's definitely, as far as I've tried them all. But my favorite thing about this one is that the battery life lasts like 3 weeks. So,
Hey, if I work out, I get a solid like 9.5 hours.
right. I
on
know.
this.
I like it for the sleep tracking because then I can wake up and it tells you that you're a piece of shit and you didn't recover
Right.
it all. And do less, but also do more.
Do you silence your notifications on your phone or on your watch when you're trying to sleep?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we both have the issue
Oh, yeah.
of
I know. I've been doing it a lot already. I've been getting.
weather
We're on.
update.
My kid's Boy Scout. I don't know. Like I love that they communicate via text. Kind of. I kind of love
Overzealous,
that.
a little too much.
Well, because then they get into like all the side conversations on the group chat, and Heather was telling me she's like, "Oh, there's a way you can turn the notifications off," but I haven't figured that out yet. But then also, if I turn the notifications off, I never know what's going on.
Probably missed the big information that you're supposed to have.
So then I panic.
Anxiety through the roof.
Yeah.
And your watch tells you to chill the fuck out.
Oh, your heart's doing that thing again.
No good.
Box breathing. That's what it should just buzz me and be
I
like,
breathe
it's
because
time to
I-
practice your mindfulness.
I breathe because I deserve to. What is the
Yeah,
quote
my
now?
my niece, I think she's 2, and she's like, she made a comment one day. She went, "I take a deep breath because I deserve it."
I deserve it.
That's right. Right,
That's
Stanley.
adorable.
So what's some of your big plans or goals there, Derek, for 2025?
Just keep growing the channel. Excited to put out some content from my visit here today to get people to see how great this place is, and like some of the crazy builds you got going on.
Thanks.
I'm really excited actually to even follow along to this ultimate adventure build that you guys are doing. I'd like to hear more about that. But the Bronco SEMA build, like that thing is insane. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here.
No,
but yeah,
man,
No, it's keep
the rails.
keep the accolades
They're
coming.
on.
We'll
Hope
clip
to-
this and it'll
hope
be me.
to yeah, I hope to hit some events this year and keep working on the Jeep, keep making it better, just improve my footage that I'm putting out, and maybe get some followers out of the deal.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and we can like tell the rest of the world too that we're looking forward, as Max-Bilt, looking forward to having you kind of as part of the team, helping us grow our manufacturing side again. And I haven't really told a lot of people about kind of what's happened or what happened to manufacturing, but in the
Boy Scouts of America.
Jeepers.
Oh, wait, that's not. It's American Scouting America.
I don't even know anymore. I don't
It's
know.
probably in that text thread.
After what Zuck just ended up doing,
Yeah, maybe we'll revert back.
Yeah, right. I mean, everybody's flipping and flopping. Anyways, we're not going to get down that street. What was I even saying? Oh, what happened to manufacturing?
What happened?
So a couple of years ago, as you guys know, we chose to make an investment into the company and put a large addition on our shop. And it was a struggle for a couple of years trying to get all the permitting and things figured out, and we got it done. And Cedar Falls Building Solutions killed it, crushed it.
Shout out to the city of Eau Claire.
Yeah. Shout out to Mark and the crew at Cedar Falls Building. We're gonna shout out City of Eau Claire. Thanks for getting it done. Anyways, and so like that, but that's a big endeavor. And during that time, we were still we were reeling from some great years, COVID and following, for all of our parts and accessories. But so we kind of just put it on a loop, and we were just letting manufacturing kind of do its thing. And when I came back and started staring at those P&Ls and looking at through a business lens, like what it looked like, it was like, man, we got to make some changes. The sales were there, but they weren't there, and we either needed to. It was something that, we were using up a lot of our cash, so a lot of our inventory money was going into the building, and you'd think that after 20 years you'd have something figured out. So you just, as a business owner, you'd just be like, always make the right decisions. I still don't. So, so that was a little bit of hindsight. Was like, oh man, should have kept a closer eye on this. But early last year, we knew we had to make a change when we were able to. And so, but until then, we kind of put things on pause. We took care of the customers that were still interacting with us the best we could. Sorry for some of you guys that we had some long lead times. And then this fall, decided to shift our focus back to that. But the one thing that we knew that we needed was somebody to kind of help manage the sales channels, as the guys in the shop are wearing lots of hats, as well as am I. So Derek has been hounding us for the last 2 or 3 years to hang. And so it was like, I remember telling you, I think it was, I was like, Coop, I don't know, let's just stop, pushing against the brick wall and see where this, the river float will take us. And so I reached out to Derek. We started talking a little bit. And I said, man, we'd love to have your help, because also 20 years in the industry, sometimes you get a little bit jaded is maybe the wrong word, but maybe the right word.
Pretty sure that's
pretty accurate.
Spot on.
And so it's like having some re-injection into and passion for the industry. That's changed so much in the last 20 years that it's almost, some of the stuff almost feels like betrayals, because it's like you start going down the road and everybody that you thought was going to be doing this. And I mean, it is what it is. Right. And that's, the mantra for all of this. But, we're really looking forward to 2025, putting a lot of effort behind pushing our trail tails again. And then we've got some exciting news that we'll announce later once we make some changes to be able to do way more with our center consoles and our skid plates and some of the those hard parts. We've got a great partner that we're going to be working with that I think that's going to give us a lot of opportunities too. But slow and steady for now. I don't want to try to bite off more than we can chew. That was a t-shirt that we had for the longest time. Bite off more than you could chew and then chew like hell. But sometimes my jaw's tired when you do that in 12 different.
What is it? The easiest way to eat the elephant in the room is
one bite at a time. So we're going to take this one bite at a time.
So yeah. And the Trail Tails, and you're not paying me to say this, believe it or not, it's just a fantastic product. Lifetime warranty.
Yeah.
You guys smash them with an excavator. You ran over them with a bulldozer, and they worked.
Yeah.
You don't get that out of the competitors.
No.
You just don't. And they're priced well, I think. And you might even I don't know, work yourselves out of jobs when you sell something that is never going to go bad.
I travel a lot though, and I'm always looking at the back end of Jeeps, and there's still a lot of TJs running around that don't have them. There's still a lot of JKs that could use them.
There's a big opportunity to get these out there and get them, marketed and get them into the hands of people who love that look.
Yeah.
So, awesome stuff.
Yeah. Oh, well, and then like we were talking too, like there's also there's the builder aspect of, hey, I'm making a trailer. Hey, I'm building this, or I'm building a buggy, or they're just a cool universal light for
bro.
semis. Dude, we've done it. We've had semi truck guys are like lighting. They're crazy.
Oh, they love it.
And we make an adapter for the 3-inch to 4-inch grommet lights.
I need this.
Yeah, it's a super simple thing. It's just, it looks like a peace sign, and it's got little tabs so that whatever size hole is in the back, of your semi or whatever. And we really did it because a lot of the, when like TJs and LJs, guys would just get a hole saw and then put grommet lights in it. And so it was like, okay, well, this will center it. You bend the tabs out, and it centers it in that hole, and then it's got 2 nutserts in it so that it just sandwiches it between, so you can put a adaptive trail tail over that hole.
Do you have any of those here?
Yeah, I'll show you.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So I live in the RV capital of the world. Drove 7 hours to get here, and my neighbor is a distributor like for RVs. So I'm gonna take a set. I'm gonna walk next door and say, hey bud, like look at this. Like maybe
how do we do this?
Yeah, get some samples out or something. Like I think they'd look great on the back of some RVs. If there's any
area of the country where that
stuff
could flourish, it is that South Bend. What's the town that we were in? We were down there.
Elkhart.
Yeah,
RV capital of the world.
Yeah.
It's wild down there. You're like, this is where it's all made. Every last piece.
And I've known that. So I grew up in Connecticut, and but I was born in Wisconsin, grew up in Connecticut, and then moved back here. But my grandma lived in northern Wisconsin, so we would drive from Connecticut back here often. And then in the last 20 years, going to visit my ma because she moved back to Connecticut. So, like the armpit of America, well, that's Gary, Indiana. But sorry, but y'all know it.
I think it's on the welcome sign. Like
right.
They were embracing the armpit.
And so, but yeah, as soon as you make that swing around Chicago and you get into Gary, I think you get another, 50 miles. And then that's when you start seeing every trailer, Hallmark, like everything. And it's just parking lots and fields of just trailers. And I remember doing it during COVID. Like it was unreal. It was like one trip. There was more campers than you knew what, like you could share. They were like stacking them on top of each other. And then it was like almost like on the way back a week later, it was like
sold.
All of them, man. It was just tumbleweeds in those fields.
And I mean, I've lived there all my life, and it's, where do these things go?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's kind of like the working ourselves out of a taillight job. You see something like that, and you're like, there's plenty of Jeeps. These taillights can go a lot of places because it's like they just keep going.
Yeah.
And then they end up 12 years later in some field, and they never move, and then
you go dig them out.
You pretty right.
Put them back to.
Then you buy a chunk of property, and you're like, oh, what are all these? I got 7 trailers on my property.
Yeah. Projects.
Speaking from experience.
Yeah, we like to camp. We've got an old like 93 Jayco camper when they were built like stout,
solid,
and like bought it from an old couple that they're just sweetest couple that we actually became friends with. But I mean, we camped one time last year. Kids are in this, kids are in that. Like life's busy, you all get it. But oh man, we just love camping.
Yeah,
you guys campers or?
Yeah, for sure. We started. It was funny when our kids were really little. We started going with like Adam and Katie. They had a camper, we didn't, or they had access to one. I think their in-laws had one. I can't really remember. Or maybe we both did tents that year. But it was like with babies and like tent camping. It was like, this is not good. No. And so then we got into the camper thing. We did a Jayco. I think it was older. It was like, I can't remember what. I think it was 80s. But ended up gutting it, like putting flooring in it. Like Heather and I like doing those kinds of projects, and it was one of those, like, hey babe, how fast can we like rip this out? And it typically it was like Monday night, and we were gonna go camping on Friday. So a lot of late nights in the driveway, got it all done, took it camping, loved it, and then saw an opportunity. Loved it because like you could go to the campsite, you were pretty much like ready to go, and then like you could tend to like the kids' needs, and then drink beer, but then as they started to get a little older, I think then we ended up getting a brand new camper, and we used it for the business. So when we would travel to different off-road events, we'd have like a place for 4 or 5 guys could crash, and then COVID hit, and it was like, well, and our kids are getting older, and then that was when like the overlanding thing became fun. When you have helpers, like to set up camp, and like Jackson's awesome because he's like me. Everything's got to be kind of in its place, and he's like, it's like, well, Dad, like last night the camp chairs were over here, so like that's where they go now, right? You know? Yeah, sorry I moved them, but
sorry the wind took them.
So like it was a little bit more fun to like have the camping experience, instead of just how fast can we get set up in a lawn chair.
I think the overlanding thing, and just in my experience and coming into it 5 or 6 years ago, has completely jaded my vantage point of camping. Because I grew up, every summer it felt like we were at Coon Fork, your standard campground.
Yep, state park campground.
3 loops, back in the camper. The adults had the camper, pop up, and then like the kids each had a tent. And then like you got to go and frolic around and go to the playground and the volleyball court and to the beach. So like as a kid, that was always like awesome. After I had camped on the edge of, the Grand Canyon before. Yeah. Like I have family that calls up and they're like, oh, we're planning our trip to Coon Forks. I'm like, that sounds lame as shit. Like, why don't you just pull it into my driveway? Right. And like, I got a fire pit in the backyard. We'll just like hang out because it's the exact same thing. So my enthusiasm to go, let's go camping this weekend is like, well, trying to find a, off-grid place, go up into the Chiquamagan forest and just be like, I'm just going to find a place here. And
right. Like, how can we get lost?
How can you camp and actually be, if there's no fear of death, are you really camping? If there's not like outside of falling into a fire, right? Is there, do you have to put your food, do you have to hang your food in garbage from a tree? Like these are the things I need to know before we go. But that, Loop A camping,
right?
In an electrical site different. Is, I don't know. It's just like, right. Again, I got a fire pit. You got a fire pit, and you got a whole campground in your backyard, so you can do whatever you want. But in mine, I'm like, I got my little fireplace, little fire pit. Throw some chairs around. I got the fridge in the garage. It's the same thing. Right. It's the same thing. And I get to go sleep in my own bed.
Well, and I think that, honestly, for me, it's BLM land that kind of ruined me. Now, granted, our Eau Claire County Forest just down the road, you can do dispersed camping throughout the year. And I've got some awesome spots.
There's some cool spots down there. The chimney.
The chimney's a good one. Heartbreak Ridge. But I also don't know, like, the Schwamigan the same way. Whereas, so like the national forests in Wisconsin aren't as easy to just like, I'm going to go camp somewhere. Right. It's not as well mapped out as like BLM land. BLM land is like, hey, here's an area where you can just go pull off. And there's like, they're not campsite, or they're not like, not Loop A. Right. But like, oh, somebody's definitely like moved the dirt around there, and it looks like they built a fire pit. Yeah. That's a spot I could go camp.
Sorry, what's BLM?
Bureau of Land
Not what you think it is.
Okay.
It's not that.
I'm confused.
I learned that the same way. I was like, I was raising my hand. Nobody called on me. I was like, Bureau of Land Management. Okay. Gotcha. That's an out west.
So, so out west, all those vast expanses in the deserts and is just basically now entering BLM land, and you can camp anywhere you want unless it's like designated you can't. So it's basically like a national forest, but it's just like, hey, this land is your land, this land is my land.
And some beautiful spots out there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
If you can handle the runoff from the North Platte, camp alongside of that. But no, just beautiful areas in any terrain that you can think of. And obviously your vehicle will determine exactly where it is that you have the ability to camp. And so does your, internal will.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's never, and it will never be the same for me to like, oh, we're going to go camping this weekend. Or when you can rent the little cabins.
right.
And like, oh, we're renting these little cabins, and it's, it's pretty rough out here. And I was like, do we have electricity? Well, yeah. Like,
You have to have a different adventure to
right,
go.
can I run
with
down to the little booth over here and grab some firewood? Yeah. Yeah. You guys want to come over? Stop at the liquor store on the way. Call it good. Yeah. Save you $100 a night.
Well,
Jaded.
yeah. Well, and again, as I get older, I still try to, figure out hobbies and activities to do. So even again, northern Wisconsin, there's a place over by Minocqua, which is over by the Michigan border. I went up there camping, but yeah, it was you couldn't just go camping. It was, well, what are we going to do while we're there, right?
Yeah.
And so they got a bunch of mountain biking and road biking, so we were able to kind of bring that activity. Otherwise, you're just like, man, I'm going to drink too much. I'm going to wake up and be like, what are we going to do today? Bloody
Yeah, because
Mary?
there's what's the campground when we go up to the UP, up Copper Harbor.
Oh, a Trail's End?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's Loop A, and but you doesn't feel like that
It's
because of
different.
where you're at, especially when you drive up and you're going through the trees look like you're going through a tunnel.
Yeah.
So you're in a different environment, and there's a lot of different options out there. You're not 20 minutes away from town.
Right.
You're kind of out there a little bit. So there are places that you can go, but I think levels of camping have escalated
For sure.
and
Have you ever been up there?
No.
The UP?
No.
it's
Sadly, I have
basically
not.
Canada.
Yeah. Farthest north I've been is Charlevoix.
Okay.
The farthest west I've been is maybe Cape Girardeau. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
I don't know where
Been
that is.
south. Haven't
Where's
been too
Cape
far.
Girardeau?
Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Missouri.
So I haven't seen all this out west stuff that you've sounds
Stick with me,
amazing.
kid.
Let's go.
We're going places.
You'll be jaded about camping in no time.
Let's
Don't
go.
you worry about it.
You say that. So I didn't grow up camping at all. So my wife and I were dating. We went down to Brown County, Indiana, kind of southern Indiana. And I tell the story that it was November. I don't think it was. I think it was October. But we stayed in a tent. And I'll tell the story that it was snowing. I don't know what it actually was, but it was so cold. And I'm like, if this is camping, I don't want anything to do with it.
Right.
So for years, wife's like, we need to get a camper. Let's get a camper. I'm like, I don't like that. And then, but yeah, so it's not glamping, but we have heat, we have water. I have a bed that's not in fear of ants or whatever.
Right.
And so, yeah, we love it. Kids love it. I mean, we've made so many memories.
That's awesome.
Just
memories.
driving all over. And we love, southern Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
So hiking is a big thing, probably the best place we've ever gone is, now the name left me. Fall Creek Falls, Tennessee.
All right.
It's the tallest waterfall east of the Rockies, 293 feet.
Oh, cool.
And you can hike down to the bottom. It's I don't know how many stories down, and it's all rocky. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
I highly recommend it.
Well, yeah, I feel like waterfalls are one of those voted best waterfall in America. Every waterfall I feel has some sort of claim to fame.
There's
there's
a plaque somewhere near it.
Was it Taka Meegwin up in the UP?
I like it.
Takmenwanan.
I got nothing.
Taco Tuesday.
Anyways, they're the widest next to Niagara Falls or something, and you're just really? I don't know, but it is wild. Waterfalls that's a fun thing to kind of chase on trips.
Another big one, Hocking Hills, Ohio.
Okay.
Oh my word. Hiking, amazing hiking. You can walk down for miles, but get down into the trails and get wet when it's hot outside. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
you're
yeah.
down in these like you just see like, I don't know, 100 feet of rock. Like you're down that far.
Oh, cool.
That's another big one.
No. And overland, I mean, the overlanding explosion 2020, 2021 really kind of opened up that whole lifestyle to those who want to not camp in Loop A, but also were like, also, amenities are great to have. I don't want to go full on Jayco, don't want to go Airstream, but I mean, there's that tactical trailer that's sitting
Patriot camper.
Yeah. Like that's rad as shit. And
It's super
has
rad.
all the things that you need, but you're also able to
It's
fold
like a
it
Swiss
down.
Army knife.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
rooftop tents, have evolved and have become just, I mean, almost like small luxury hotels. But that's definitely been, I think, a part of the rage that was 2021, 2022. It probably started to, people got back to work and sold all the shit that they bought.
Yeah, it's definitely changed. It's not quite as big as it was.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's like anything. It's kind of like when you do a diet, and speaking of, because we're on one, but then it's like once you go back to the old ways, it's never quite the same. Like you've learned so much. So like you've leveled up, right? And I think I think a lot of people did that. They got into it, they jumped into it, and then they maybe realized that they didn't need all of that.
Right.
And then I certainly did it too. Because there were times where it was like, I got all these things. And it's like, also now I'm spending too much time setting up camp and not enjoying the view or like, enjoying the nature and like, getting that connection that was what I was actually searching for all along. Just thinking,
I feel like that window of time was also when the industry started to shift. You had a lot of companies that saw the boom, and I'm sure it was the same in the RV industry. Saw like, oh my gosh, like this is the next big, American thing is this overlanding, having all the equipment, having all the things, compact and compartment, for everything. And then the big companies started to buy those people that were making, the hand sewn tents. Yeah. Like, oh, we're going to buy them. And then the guys that are making the, the fridge freezers, oh, we're going to buy them like that. And then all of a sudden this industry, you had all these little, one focus shops that were making tent campers or they're, making s'mores, rotating s'mores things. Somebody just was like, everybody's going to be doing this for a long time. So we're just going to buy them all up. And then the plummet happens when people have that regret or they don't have, they realize that I can't just start driving and go camping for a week. Right. It's 4 days. It takes me a day to set this shit up. Right. It takes me a day to tear it down. So I have 2 days plus a day of travel. So I have 1 day. So, that whole industry kind of dries up. And I think it's had an interesting trickle down effect on the entire off-road and overlanding industry just because of the corporatization of it all.
But I've also seen a lot more content. Yeah. I don't know why I can't think of the word, but people that make content on YouTube and
content creators.
Wow. Yeah. But like content creators realized they were like, man, I could actually I get a little Starlink thing here. Oh, yeah. Now all of a sudden I'm connected while being out in the middle of nowhere, so I can work and do all this. And so there's been a lot of content that I've seen of people that are just after the COVID thing. It was like, I am on the road now.
Yeah, I live wherever I land.
Rome. How cool is that? Like that. Yeah. That nomadic lifestyle is also a hell of a commitment. Yeah. Like think of that.
How did you see that Starlink and Apple?
Oh no! What are we talking here?
Grouping together. Yeah, they. I believe that I don't know if it's on all the networks, but apparently the 18.2 update of the iOS software that's coming will be integrated with Starlink. So your phone will work anywhere. That I don't know if it was. Man. I think T-Mobile was the one name that was listed as like the first provider that's going to be jumping up over this. So your Apple iPhone and Starlink will be able to connect and communicate. So the days of like no service.
Right. So landman will never be interrupted on the road again.
Yeah, there won't be that weird delay where you're like, dead zone.
Buffering.
Thanks, Papa Elon.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be the next thing. So now you have less fear. The people that are hesitant, I can't quite go this far
Right.
without Starlink. Now they're just like, I got my iPhone. I can go
Yep.
wherever.
Exactly.
Just
I don't know, but there's also something pretty cathartic about
Yeah.
throwing your phone out the fucking window. I just
that
need
is
to
nice.
disconnect.
Sorry, I couldn't be reached at this point. There is.
Yeah, I my next camping trip, I don't know when, but I'd like to do it sometime between now and September. It would just be a solo trip out to the Teddy Roosevelt State Park in North Dakota. I don't know, just felt like that was a place I needed to go back to. Just saw it from the road, really. Pulled off and off I-94 and read about the North Dakota Badlands, but I don't
Teddy
know.
Roosevelt, that he worked himself out of having asthma as a child.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
He
he's
had asthma and then just worked out every day until he didn't
he's a
have
boss.
asthma.
Yeah, dude.
Like-
I've read a couple of his his biographies. He's an animal, dude. Yeah, and it was mind over matter with him. Something we can all aspire to be.
So if you have asthma,
Yeah.
go read the Teddy Roosevelt biography.
But do you got any camping trips planned?
No, we sure don't.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sad. My son's in wrestling right now, and then he's going to go right into track, and so that'll get us, into spring. So who knows?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that is one nice thing about once you get kind of the Jeep camping down, it can be like, let's just go out into the woods now.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We the
your
last
duffel.
time, I think it was just like a couple of months back. That was a buddy of mine. Was like, what are you doing tonight? I was like, he's like, let's go just out to the county forest, cook some food, hang out, watch the stars. So we brought our kids, and it was just that fast.
Sounds cool.
You can get kids to realize that they don't need everything. Just like bring some warm clothes and you're good. Like,
Yeah.
Sit by the fire.
just packing. Like I better bring out. Like no, you don't need all that. You can just we have it all squared away.
Right.
Make some minimalists,
Yeah.
which is helpful. But yeah, we don't have. Do we have? Are you doing Moab? I know it's been talked about. Oh my gosh, he's already falling asleep. Needs
What?
some more
Oh, sorry. Did you need me to answer a question?
ice cream. Yeah, sorry. Moab.
Chill
is-
Bros.
I know we would mentioned Moab on the
Yeah,
last
so-
podcast, so I just want to.
Well, it kind of ties into a little bit of what Derek was saying
Yeah,
earlier
the story of the
about
Scrambler.
the Scrambler, right? So you guys have seen on the socials, I've told some of the story, but a good friend, really, honestly, the guy who brought me to the dance that is the off-road industry and helped me network and shake hands with a lot of the greats in the industry back in 2008 and 9 was Pete Trasborg. He worked as a technical editor at the time for JP Magazine. And one of the first articles or projects that we worked on together was this old Scrambler that he had that he basically started in New Jersey and he was driving across the country to his home and from his home in New Jersey to his new home in LA and stopping at different shops along the way, swapping parts out on this Scrambler to try to build it across the country.
Yeah.
And one of the stops was to me, and we ended up doing a motor swap and put a new transmission in it. There's pictures. That was when my shop was at my house. There's pictures of me swinging from the rafters with a chain hoist, riding the engine like a tire swing, or that music video Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, you're Miley Cyrus.
I
in
was,
that
yeah.
production.
But
Man.
I was clothed.
But-
Mostly. Until the night
I feel
got
like
away
it
from me.
started that way, and then the evening set in.
But, and so that was really cool to be a part of that. And then it went to our friends, TNT Customs in Wyoming, and Bob put a rust-free Scrambler tub on it because the tub that was on it was you could throw a football through it. And then it went over to LA. He wrote the story, and a lot of magazine projects, it kind of got pushed to the back burner. And then years later, he passed away, 2016. He was a big inspiration for our Epic Willie's adventure as well. It was a trip that he always wanted to do. And so there's a in memorial on each trip for Pete Trasborg. But and then a couple of years after that, Bob called me and said, hey, I got the Scrambler, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to do something with it at some point. I said, all right, well, just keep me in the loop. Well, then just over a year ago, he called me back, and he's like, I got to get rid of it. We're moving shops. We don't have the space. Do you want it? I was like, well, I want it, but I can't do anything with it. So we called up an awesome client of ours that like collects Jeeps, but like not as a car collector as like a historian. You know, he really likes Jeeps with that mean more than just a Jeep, you know, with four wheels.
Right.
So I kind of told him loosely about the story, but I didn't go into any of this much detail. And I said, I don't know, but it's got a background if you'd be interested, you know. And he's like, well, I'll call you tomorrow. And he called me back, and he's like, man, you're pretty involved in this Jeep, and like it's got a big history. Are you sure I'm the guy for it? And like just somebody that does that much research and due diligence,
Yeah,
it's
in,
like
in 12 hours.
yeah, like you're the guy, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd be honored if you'd be up for it. And he's like, yeah, all right, give me Bob's number. I'll go to Wyoming and I'll pick it up and drop it off at the shop. So it's here. Our plan for it this year is to go to Moab and have it in its like loosely fabricated, you know, it obviously we want it to work out on the trails or whatever, but it's going to be a test run. And then we're submitting an entry to the Unreal Adventure, which is the rebrand of the Ultimate Adventure from all the same guys that were in the magazine. So a lot of these guys knew Pete. You know, we hope to kind of throw a little parking lot party when we're out in Moab for those that want to come check out the Jeep and hang out, you know, BS about old times. And then we'll have the Unreal Adventure, and then we'll bring that from that. That's in September. And then we'll bring it from that to SEMA. And then when it comes back from SEMA, then we'll blow it all apart, and then we'll paint it up nice and pretty, and then give it to Dan. But this year it'll be kind of a cool nod to a good friend, and so looking forward to that. And we hope to develop some YouTube stories around that, where the content can kind of live as a little bit more episodic than some of our just crazy stories that go away in 24 hours or the reels that don't necessarily give you enough context. So
Bob is the owner.
Dan is the owner.
Dan is the owner.
Yep.
Okay, so Dan was in, and I had a shameless plug. He was up talking to Adam, and so I have a company, Mark Designs. We make bumpers and sliders for Jeeps. And I was like, hey, being nosy here, you don't have a front bumper by chance, do you? No. And I was like, hey, I pointed out to my LJ, and I was like, hey, I got a front bumper for you. And he didn't seem to be real interested, but I'm like, shoot. Like,
we
cool.
can try. We
That'd
can
be
try
cool.
it.
But
We'll just
marketing
tell
is
him.
marketing.
Right.
Tell
It
them
is.
this is the bumper we're going to go with.
Yeah,
That's one
yeah.
we decided on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan.
And but no, so that story is cool, and seeing it like in pieces is cool, and where it's gonna go. And yeah, I think people are gonna really like that series on YouTube.
Yep, for sure.
And that's a part that separates like the Jeep community from like a lot of others. Like nobody has that story about a Corolla.
Right.
You know, it's
yeah.
you know, it's my old friend was trying to, you know, found this, you know, Corolla.
Well,
really
that's-
wanted to redo it. Like there's an energy and a passion for, and especially, you know, the deeper you get into it, obviously there's a ton of people that like the mall crawlers. I mean, we went down to Jeep Beach, and that's all. It's lights and
Right.
lifts and stereo systems. But when you find the passionate ones about, you know, the history of Jeep, and again with Epic Willie's Adventure and Pete, like bringing them back to life, pulling them out of a field, finding, you know, making parts to work that were never intended to be a part of
Exactly.
of this is I think what separates like the Jeep community, you know, the really deep rooted Jeep community from really any other, Camaros. I mean, the Camaro crowd, you know, has the same thing. The old Mustangs. There's very few vehicles that have such a passionate following, and Jeep's just the one that has stories like this that can kind of retell themselves over and over again.
It seems like everybody's got a story, you know?
Yeah.
My first experience, you asked earlier, when I was a kid, it was winter. Somebody flipped a CJ7 over in our front yard. And so.
Sounds about
right. And like that.
The old narrow tracks.
Those are dangerous, whatever.
I
But-
know.
I
Yeah,
know.
right. Yeah, branded. But people also were like, those are bad. And it's kind of like, well, also it's my habit.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And you also thought they were badasses because a lot of times when you see Jeeps, whether from old movies to seeing them on the road, and especially
carefree
in the 80s,
lifestyle.
Yeah, the top's off, the doors are off. The dude's probably wearing like a jean jacket, got a Marlboro hanging out of his mouth. You're like, that's the fucking Marlboro man. He just has moved on from his horse.
Duke's a hazard.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Ah, Daisy. Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave that.
Catherine Bach.
Sorry, I just needed
No,
a
I
moment
get
of
it.
silence. I needed that. Just really, I took that deep breath because I deserve it.
Nobody talks about Cooter. Tow truck driver.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say that's a different
Hey,
podcast.
This
dude.
is for the kids.
Only Jeeps.
I still can't believe we never did register onlywillies.com. I just feel
know.
like we really missed out on an opportunity there.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you though, that was, I mentioned being jaded earlier. And I think that some of those stories, like I'm a storyteller. I love hearing stories. But I think part of the reason when I stopped doing the trade shows as much was because every handshake came with the story of the old Jeep that they knew from the farm. And I think the hard part for me, just because of who I am, is like, I want to hear all of those.
Right.
But I remember in the heyday when we were doing, it seemed like a trade show a month. It was like, you just get like glassed over. Right. And it's like, man, I could actually, do you want me to tell you the story? You actually don't need to tell me, but I'm going to guess. And a lot of times I had it spot on in my brain.
Yeah.
But
I know how this story goes.
But again, like just kind of coming back into it, because the last 5 years, I'm not saying I was out of it, but I had a different, I was going in different directions. So I'm excited to kind of like invest myself back into it as a passion and as my hobby, and I can respect the industry from that viewpoint again. So yeah, I don't know.
Do what
Crazy
you
to
love. You'll
see.
never work a day in your life.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Yep.
Coin phrases.
But also, if you invest your everything into it, and I'm a guy that when I commit, I am all in. I don't dip toes in things, and so when I'm all in, it's like, okay, well, but then there's burnout, right?
No,
So
with everything.
Yep,
With
you just got to
everything.
figure out how you balance all that.
Yeah.
So don't burn yourself out.
Got it.
Balance.
92 Jeeps in. I think he's good.
Yeah,
I
right.
think he's
I've
found the wheelhouse.
I've slowed down a little bit. Just, I don't know, money, economy,
Yeah, it's been a little different.
And life's, you got to balance. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
when you involve kids and you got significant others and you have, careers and, ways to fund those projects, like you have to find balance. But I think, everything ebbs and flows. Yeah, you'll be hard and heavy with it one day, and the next day it's like, okay, I'm going to take a step, take
Yeah.
a breath.
Yeah. And it's been like, I'd say it's even been good for our family. I mean, the flipping is provided, it's paid for Christmases, it's paid for
Oh, yeah.
vacations. Like my daughter can change her own oil. She can change a tire. My son, like as soon as he could pick up a wrench, was out wrenching with me. And now he's going to going to go to automotive school and has his own Jeeps and wrenching on his own stuff and knows what he's doing. And it's just, just memories.
Yeah,
Memories that
absolutely.
we've created. And now my 9-year-old, I don't know where this came from, VW buses.
Hey, those are pretty
He's
sweet
gonna,
too.
he doesn't want a Jeep. He's grown up with them.
Talk about another community that's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that Jeep people look at and go, what?
Yeah.
What?
So he's like, he can tell you anything about them, 21 windows or whatever. And anyway, but yeah, memories.
Passion
All about
projects.
memories.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Well, thankfully, they're not going to make gas motors obsolete, and
Not
we
anytime
can keep
soon.
that going, right? Yeah,
We've kicked the can down the road a little bit on that.
yeah.
Just
I'm
good.
all right with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fossil fuels.
Yep, for sure. Well, cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for making the trip up here.
Oh,
and
yeah. Thanks for having me.
invading the
This has been
space
awesome.
and checking it out and collecting content. And
Yeah.
shout out to the people where they can find you on the YouTube and on
Sure,
Instagram,
yeah.
the social media.
Elevated Jeeps on YouTube, Elevated Jeeps on Instagram, Mark Designs. We've got a website where we're selling our stuff now, mark-designs.com, on Instagram as well. And that's
Cool.
about it.
You'll be seeing his face on Max-Bilt too.
Will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
He's just adopting half the face hair from you. And
Yeah.
a little start from me.
Oh, we didn't even get to talk beards.
Oh yeah. I mean, we can.
Burr, burr, burr. Just the last man standing over here. It's fine.
Don't do that to me.
Well, again, they kind of got all the elements here. We
Right.
just need somebody that just got mutton chops, and we'd have like this
TQ, you're
different.
up.
Yeah, grow the chops out, TQ. It'd be a good look for you. I can see you down here. Annie would love it. I think that was not
I'm back in that. Yeah. What you doing? Yeah. I'm back in that. Hey, where you going?
Hey, back in that bag again. Don't bring me around your friends. You know that I'm bagging them. Request me on Facebook. No, I ain't adding them. Positions I had her in. Hit from the back. That pussy was splattering. Calling her friend. Tell her pull up. Word, let's make it a gathering. They love that baby.